Zara's hands were covered in buttercream when the contract slid across the marble counter. She looked up from the cake samples she'd brought, meeting the eyes of the most beautiful man she'd ever seen. Kang Ji-hoon stood on the other side of his penthouse kitchen island, perfectly still in a black turtleneck and slacks, his expression completely unreadable. 30 days, he said, his English flawless but accented in a way that made her stomach flutter. You live here, bake 30 cakes, 1 for each year of my life. At the end, you walk away with $100,000. Zara's breath caught. $100,000. Enough to save her bakery, pay her rent, extend her visa, and maybe, just maybe, stop living on ramyun and stress. But something about this felt wrong. She'd come here thinking she was consulting on a birthday cake, not signing her life away for a month. Why? She asked, wiping her hands on her apron. Why 30 cakes? Why do I have to live here? Ji-hoon moved around the island with deliberate slowness, like a man who'd forgotten how to be spontaneous. He stopped 3 feet from her, close enough that she could smell his cologne, expensive and subtle, something with cedar and bergamot. Because I don't remember what it feels like to want cake, he said simply. I don't remember what anything tastes like, really. Not the way normal people do. 2 years ago, I was in an accident. Since then, food is just fuel, music is just noise, everything is just flat. He gestured to the samples she'd brought. A slice of her famous honey lavender cake, her grandmother's red velvet, and her signature creation, a chocolate depression cake with salted caramel that made grown men cry. But when I walked past your bakery 3 days ago, I smelled something. For the first time in 2 years, I wanted to taste something. I didn't, but I wanted to. That's why I need you. Zara stared at him. He was stunning in that dangerous way. Sharp jawline, dark eyes that seemed to look through rather than at her, black hair styled perfectly away from his face. But there was something hollow about him, like a beautiful shell with nothing living inside. And I have to live here because making 30 cakes in 30 days while maintaining your bakery would be impossible. Because I need consistency. The same kitchen, the same ingredients, the same presence. He paused. And because my family can't know you're here. If they did, they'd interfere. And this wouldn't work. Your family doesn't know you hired a baker to live with you for a month? Zara's voice rose. That's not suspicious at all. They think I'm on a business trip to Singapore. Ji-hoon's expression didn't change. I own this building. No one comes to the penthouse without my permission. You'll be completely safe. Safe. The word hung between them like a question mark. Hey, beautiful people. Before we dive deeper into this amazing story, tell me where you are watching from. And don't forget to subscribe and like so I can share more incredible stories with you. It's your way of supporting us. Thank you all. Love you. Let's continue. One rule, Ji-hoon said, and something flickered in his dark eyes. No touching. Not accidental, not casual, not at all. We maintain complete physical distance. Why? The word came out before Zara could stop it. Because my therapist says forming attachments right now would be dangerous. I could mistake proximity for connection, gratitude for affection. So, we don't touch. Ever. No handshakes, no high fives, no brushing past each other in the kitchen. Nothing. Zara looked at the contract, at the number with all those zeros, at her reflection in the polished marble. She thought about the eviction notice in her apartment, about her visa application that needed $5,000 in fees, about her bakery that she'd poured her dead father's insurance money into and was now 3 months from losing. What if I say no? Then you walk away and I find someone else, but they won't be you. Ji-hoon's voice dropped lower. And I don't think anyone else's cakes will work. You've never even tasted my cakes. I don't need to. I can see it in the way you handle them, like they're alive, like they matter. That's what I need, someone who bakes like it means something. Zara picked up a knife, cut into the chocolate depression cake, and held out a fork. Taste it first. Then decide if you really want to do this. Ji-hoon stared at the fork like it might bite him. Then, moving carefully to avoid touching her fingers, he took it. He brought the cake to his mouth, chewed slowly, and Zara watched something absolutely devastating happen to his face. His eyes closed. His jaw tightened, and when he opened his eyes again, they were wet. "What did you put in this?" His voice was rough. "Chocolate, coffee, buttermilk, and grief," Zara said quietly. "I baked it the day after my father's funeral. Every time I make it, I put that same feeling in. Loss and love and the bittersweet taste of goodbye. I can taste it." Ji-hoon set down the fork with a trembling hand. "I can actually taste it, not just the flavor, the feeling." He looked at her, really looked at her for the first time, and Zara felt the weight of that gaze like a physical touch. 30 days, he said. "Starting now. I'll have your things moved from your apartment. Everything you need is here. Bedroom upstairs, private bathroom, a kitchen better than anything you've ever worked in." He paused. "And absolutely no touching. Can you do that?" Zara thought about saying no, thought about walking away from this beautiful, broken man and his impossible request. But then she thought about her father, about how he'd believed in her enough to leave her everything he had, about how she couldn't let his dream die. "One condition," she said. "Cake number 28, whichever year that represents. I get to decide if it deserves a cake at all. Some years don't deserve to be celebrated." Ji-hoon's expression shifted into something that might have been respect. "Deal." He pulled out a pen, signed the contract, and slid it across to her. Zara picked up the pen, and as she signed her name, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was signing something much more binding than a business agreement. "Welcome to my home, Zara Williams," Ji-hoon said, and the way he said her name, slow and deliberate, made something low in her stomach tighten. "Try not to fall in love with me. I'm told I'm very difficult." "Try not to fall in love with my cakes," Zara shot back. "I'm told they're impossible to resist." His smile was small, barely there, but it transformed his entire face. "Then we're both in trouble." The first 3 days were torture. Not because Ji-hoon was difficult, he wasn't. He was polite, respectful, gave her complete freedom in the kitchen. The torture was the space between them, the careful distance he maintained at all times, the way he'd leave a room if she entered, the way he'd wait for her to pass before moving through a doorway. It was like living with a ghost who was desperately trying not to haunt her. Zara baked cake number 1 on day 2, a simple vanilla buttermilk cake with rose water and pistachios. She'd asked Ji-hoon about his first birthday, and he'd described it clinically. No emotion, just facts. His grandmother had made him a cake with rose water because roses were blooming in the garden. He'd apparently smashed it with both hands. When he tasted the recreation, nothing happened. No memories, no emotions, just acknowledgement that it was good. "Don't be discouraged," Ji-hoon said from his position exactly 4 feet away. They were in the kitchen, him leaning against one counter, her working at the island. The therapist said it would be like this, slow, gradual. "How did you lose your memories?" Zara asked, piping frosting onto the second layer. "Car accident. 2 years ago. I remember the facts. I was driving. There was another car. We crashed. My fiancé died. I survived with a traumatic brain injury that took my episodic memory and my ability to feel things properly." His voice was flat, reciting information. "I know I loved her because people told me I did. I know I was devastated because I tried to die for 6 months after. But I don't remember loving her. I don't remember what she felt like or sounded like or what it was like to want to see her." Zara's hands stilled. "That's the saddest thing I've ever heard." "Is it? I don't remember what sad feels like, so I can't compare." "Do you want to remember?" Ji-hoon was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know. My grandmother thought I should. She died 6 months ago, and her last words to me were, 'Find the baker who makes cakes with soul. She'll wake you up.' I thought she was confused, dying. But then, I walked past your bakery and for the first time in 2 years, I wanted something. Not needed, not logically decided I should have, but wanted. So maybe she was right. He pushed off the counter. I'm going to work. There's a board meeting I need to attend virtually. Try not to burn down my kitchen. Try not to bore yourself to death in your meeting, Zara called after him. She heard him laugh, quiet and surprised, and felt absurdly proud of herself for pulling that sound from him. Cake number 2 was chocolate mint, representing age 7, the year his mother left. Ji-hoon had described it mechanically. She'd packed a bag one morning, kissed his forehead, and never came back. No fight, no explanation, just gone. His grandmother had made him chocolate mint ice cream that night. When he tasted the cake, Ji-hoon went completely still. I remember her perfume, he said, his voice strange. Gardenias. She always smelled like gardenias. It was the first crack in his armor, and Zara watched him struggle with it, his jaw clenched, his hands gripping the counter. Is that good or bad? She asked quietly. I don't know yet. That night, Zara couldn't sleep. She came downstairs at 2 a.m. to prep ingredients for the next cake, and found Ji-hoon already in the kitchen, staring at the leftover slice of chocolate mint like it might attack him. Can't sleep? She asked. Can't stop thinking about gardenias. He didn't look at her. It's been 2 years since I remembered anything that felt real. Now I can smell my mother's perfume every time I close my eyes, and I don't know if I hate it or need it. Zara moved to the coffee maker, careful to maintain distance. Want to talk about it? Want to tell me why you're really in Seoul? American pastry chefs don't usually end up in Korea with failing bakeries and expiring visas. Fair point. Zara poured 2 cups of coffee, slid one across the counter to him. My dad was a Marine, stationed at Camp Humphreys for 3 years when I was a teenager. I fell in love with Seoul, with Korean food culture, with the way people here treat baking like art. When he died, I took his insurance money and came back. Thought I could build something beautiful in his memory. But being a black American woman opening a bakery in Itaewon means everyone assumes I'm temporary. Nobody takes me seriously. I give away too many cakes to people who look sad, and apparently, I'm terrible at business. She sipped her coffee. Your turn. Why does your family want to marry you off? Ji-hoon's expression darkened. Because a man who can't feel emotions is a liability in a business built on relationships. The board thinks I'm unstable. My uncle is positioning himself to take over. The marriage would be to the daughter of our biggest competitor, would merge the companies, would secure my position. Do you want to marry her? I don't want anything, remember? That's my whole problem. He finally looked at Zara, and his eyes were devastated. How do you choose a life when you can't feel what you want? Maybe, Zara said carefully, you start by figuring out what makes you feel anything at all, even if it's just gardenia-scented memories and chocolate cake. They stared at each other across the kitchen, 4 feet of careful distance between them, and Zara felt the pull like gravity, the urge to close that distance, to touch his hand, to see if she could make him feel something real and immediate. But the rule was no touching, and Zara was determined not to break it, even if it killed her. By day 7, the tension had become unbearable, not because they were fighting, but because they weren't. They'd developed a rhythm, almost domestic. Zara would wake at 6 to prep. Ji-hoon would appear at 7, already dressed for work, and taste whatever she'd baked the night before. They'd talk carefully about nothing and everything. Then he'd leave for his office, and she'd spend the day creating. But the space between them was shrinking. Not physically, Ji-hoon still maintained his 4-foot radius religiously, but emotionally, they were getting closer with every conversation, every shared laugh, every moment he let his guard down enough to actually feel something. Cake number 7 was lemon lavender, age 16, first love and first heartbreak. Ji-hoon had told the story clinically, a girl named Min Seo, a summer of teenage intensity, a breakup that had felt world-ending. When he tasted the cake, he went pale. Her hair smelled like this, he said, lavender shampoo. She wore it every day. He set down the fork with a shaking hand. Why does remembering hurt so much? Because love always hurts a little, Zara said gently. Even the good kind. Is it worth it? The hurting? I don't know. Was she? Ji-hoon considered this. I think she was. I can't remember what she felt like, but I remember writing terrible poetry about her eyes. So she must have been worth something. Zara laughed, and Ji-hoon's expression softened. You have a beautiful laugh. Did you know that? It's the first thing I noticed about you. When you laughed at something your assistant said in your bakery, I was walking by and I stopped just to hear it again. The confession hung between them, intimate and dangerous. That's not fair, Zara said quietly. You can't say things like that and then maintain your 4-foot rule. I know. Ji-hoon's voice was rough. But if I get closer, if I touch you, I won't be able to stop. And this has to end in 23 days. You'll take your money and leave, and I'll go back to being empty. So the distance is necessary. What if I don't want the distance? Then we're both in trouble. If you're still here, heart racing, wanting more, hit that like button and subscribe because this story is about to get so much more intense. Comment and tell me if you think they'll make it the full 30 days without touching because things are about to get complicated. The complication arrived on day 10 in the form of Ji-hoon's brother, Kang Tae-min. Zara was in the kitchen working on cake number 10, a honey almond creation for Ji-hoon's 10th year, the summer his grandmother taught him to cook, when she heard voices in the living room. You can't hide forever, Tae-min was saying. Father is asking questions. The board wants answers, and Uncle is spreading rumors that you've had a breakdown. I'm handling it, Ji-hoon replied, his voice cold. By hiding in your penthouse? By avoiding everyone? Ji-hoon, you have 40 days until the wedding. 40 days to prove you're competent enough to run this company. You can't do that by disappearing. Zara froze at the word wedding. 40 days. That meant 5 days after her contract ended, he'd be married. To someone else. Someone chosen by his family, by logic, by everything except feeling. I'm not hiding, Ji-hoon said. I'm working on something. Working on what? There was a pause. Then, myself. Tae-min laughed, bitter. You can't fix yourself, brother. We've tried therapists, medications, everything. You're broken. But you can still be useful. Marry Sun-hee, merge the companies and let me handle the emotional aspects of running the business. You do strategy, I'll do people. It's a good plan. It's a prison sentence. It's survival. Zara heard footsteps approaching the kitchen and quickly ducked behind the refrigerator. Tae-min entered, stopped, and stared at the array of cakes on the counter. What is all this? He asked. Nothing that concerns you, Ji-hoon said from the doorway, his voice sharp. Leave, Tae-min, now. Is someone here? Are you hiding a woman? The amusement in his voice made Zara's stomach turn. She stayed hidden, barely breathing, as the brothers stared at each other. My personal life is none of your concern, Ji-hoon said. Everything about you is my concern. You're my brother, and you're about to torpedo everything our family built because you're too stubborn to accept that you're damaged. Tae-min moved closer. Let me help you. Let us help you. Stop fighting this. Get out. The words were quiet, but absolute. Tae-min left, but not before taking a photo of the cakes with his phone. The moment the elevator doors closed, Ji-hoon turned toward Zara's hiding spot. You can come out now. Zara emerged, her heart pounding. I'm sorry. I didn't want to complicate things. You heard everything. Yes. Then you know I'm supposed to get married in 45 days. To a woman I don't love, don't feel anything for. Who's being offered like a business merger? Ji-hoon's expression was devastated. Does that change anything? Should it? I don't know, you tell me. You're the one who bakes feelings into cakes. What does it mean that I feel more sitting in this kitchen with you talking about nothing than I've felt in 2 years of my supposed relationship with my fiancé? Zara's breath caught. Ji-hoon, don't. Don't say it's just proximity or gratitude or whatever my therapist would say. Because when I taste your cakes, When you laugh at my terrible jokes, when you look at me like I'm a person and not a project, I feel something. I don't know what it is because I have nothing to compare it to, but it's something. And it terrifies me. He moved closer, breaking his own rule, stopping just 2 feet away, close enough that Zara could see the gold flecks in his dark eyes, could count his eyelashes, could feel the heat radiating off him. "What are you doing?" she whispered. "I don't know. Breaking every rule I set, proving my brother right that I'm too damaged for this." His hand came up, hovering next to her face, not quite touching. "Tell me to stop." "I can't." "Why not?" "Because I feel it too." The confession hung between them, enormous and terrifying. Then Ji-hoon's phone rang, shattering the moment. He stepped back, answered it, and his expression went cold. "When?" A pause. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. He ended the call and looked at Zara. "My uncle just called an emergency board meeting. Tae-min sent the photos to the family group chat. They know someone's here." "What does that mean?" "It means they're going to try to use you against me. Paint you as a distraction, a breakdown, proof I'm unfit." His jaw clenched. "I need you to stay here. Don't open the door for anyone. Don't answer calls from unknown numbers. And whatever happens, don't leave this penthouse." "You're scaring me." "Good. You should be scared. My family doesn't lose. And right now, you're a loose end." He moved toward the door, then stopped. "Zara, when this is over, when the 30 days are up, take the money and go. Don't look back. Don't try to contact me. Just disappear." "Why?" "Because I'm starting to feel things I can't afford to feel. And if you stay, if you're anywhere near me when I fully wake up, I won't be able to let you go. And that wouldn't be fair to either of us." He left before she could respond, and Zara stood in the kitchen surrounded by cakes that represented a broken man's memories, wondering what the hell she'd gotten herself into. The next few days were a different kind of torture. Ji-hoon came back from the board meeting grim and silent. He'd shut them down, apparently, convinced them Zara was a private chef he'd hired temporarily. But the scrutiny had increased, security had been tripled, and Tae-min had started showing up unannounced. Zara threw herself into baking, Cake 13, mint chocolate chip for the year his grandmother first told him about the hotel business. Cake 14, strawberry shortcake for his first day at university. Cake 17, triple chocolate for the year he met his fiancée. That one broke something in Ji-hoon. He tasted it and went completely still. "I remember her," he said, his voice hollow. "I remember everything about her. Her smile, her voice, how she felt in my arms." He looked at Zara, and his eyes were wrecked. "I remember loving her." "That's good, isn't it? That's what we wanted." "Is it? Because now I remember what love feels like, and I know with absolute certainty that what I feel for you is bigger, stronger, more real than anything I felt for her." He set down the fork. "And we've only known each other 17 days. Zara's heart slammed against her ribs. "You don't mean that." "Don't I? Let me test it. When you walk into a room, my chest gets tight. When you laugh, I want to record it so I can play it back when you're not here. When you taste batter off your fingers, I have to leave the room because watching your mouth is driving me insane. When you talk about your father, I want to hold you and take away the grief I can see in your eyes." He moved closer, breaking the rule again. "And every single day, the thing I want most in this world is to break my own rule and touch you. Ji-hoon, I'm in love with you, Zara. I know it's impossible. I know it's too fast. I know I'm supposed to be broken and empty and unable to feel. But I'm in love with you anyway." The confession hung between them, impossible and perfect. Zara felt tears streaming down her face, felt her carefully constructed walls crumbling. "You can't be," she whispered. "You're getting married in 37 days. Not if I don't want to. Not if I choose differently. Your family can go to hell." Ji-hoon was close now, so close she could feel his breath. "I've spent 2 years not wanting anything. Now I want everything, And it all involves you. So tell me I'm crazy. Tell me to back off. Tell me you don't feel the same. I can't. Why not? Because I'm in love with you too, and it's the worst possible timing. And I hate that I only have 13 days left. And I hate that you're supposed to marry someone else. And I hate that I can't touch you because I want to so badly it physically hurts. Ji-hoon made a sound low in his throat, desperate and hungry. Then touch me, break the rule, end this torture. If I touch you, I won't stop. Good. Don't stop. Don't ever stop. Zara reached up, her hand trembling, and cupped his face. The moment her palm made contact with his skin, Ji-hoon's eyes closed like he'd been hit with lightning. His hand came up to cover hers, pressing it harder against his cheek. "You're real," he whispered. "You feel real." Then he kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was 17 days of restraint shattering into desperate need. His hands tangled in her hair, pulling her closer. Her back hit the kitchen counter. His mouth moved to her neck, her collarbone, the sensitive spot behind her ear that made her gasp. "Bedroom," Zara managed. "Now." Ji-hoon lifted her onto the counter instead, his hands gripping her thighs. "Can't wait that long. Need you now." His mouth found hers again, consuming, claiming. Zara's fingers worked the buttons of his shirt while his hands slid under her dress. The first touch of skin on skin made them both groan. "Are you sure?" Ji-hoon pulled back enough to look at her, his eyes dark with desire but still asking permission. "I've been sure since day 7 when you laughed at my buttercream joke," Zara said. "Stop asking and start touching." He did. Everywhere. His hands mapped her body like he was memorizing every curve, every sensitive spot. When he finally pushed inside her, they both went still, overwhelmed by the sensation. "God, Zara!" Ji-hoon's voice was wrecked. "You feel incredible." He moved slowly at first, then faster as she urged him on. Zara wrapped her legs around his waist, pulling him deeper, and heard him make sounds she'd never heard before. Desperate, hungry, alive. When they both came apart, it was together, her name on his lips and his name on hers, 17 days of tension exploding into perfect release. In the aftermath, they stayed tangled together on the kitchen counter, breathing hard, neither willing to move. "We just broke every rule," Zara said finally. "Best decision I've made in 2 years," Ji-hoon replied, pressing a kiss to her shoulder. "Your family is going to lose their minds." Let them. But the universe had different plans. The penthouse door exploded open at 6 a.m. the next morning. Zara woke in Ji-hoon's bed, wrapped in his arms, to the sound of shouting. Before either of them could react, Ji-hoon's uncle, Kang Dong-woo, stormed into the bedroom with 3 security guards and Taemin trailing behind, looking miserable. "This ends now," Dong-woo snarled. He pulled out his phone, showed a photo of Ji-hoon and Zara kissing in the kitchen taken from the security cameras. "You're making a mockery of this family." Ji-hoon sat up, pulling the sheets around Zara protectively. "Get out of my home." "Your home? This building belongs to the company. Everything you have belongs to the company that I'm about to take control of." Dongwoo's smile was vicious. "Emergency board meeting is in 2 hours. You'll either show up, announce your engagement to Sun-hee is proceeding as planned, and send this woman packing, or I'll have the board declare you mentally unfit and remove you as CEO. Your choice." "You can't do that," Ji-hoon said. "I absolutely can. I have medical records proving you're damaged. I have testimony from your therapist about your attachment issues. I have photos proving you're involved with an employee in violation of company policy. And I have the entire board ready to vote you out." He looked at Zara with disgust. "How much is he paying you?" "Excuse me?" Zara's voice was cold. "To play house. To pretend to care about him. Everyone knows you're just after his money." Dongwoo pulled out another paper. "Here's what I know about you, Zara Williams. Failed business owner, expired visa, desperate enough to take any job offered. So how much did he promise you to warm his bed?" Ji-hoon was out of bed in an instant, fury radiating off him. "Say one more word about her and I'll—" "You'll what? You have no power here anymore." Dongwoo turned to leave. 2 hours. Boardroom. Make the right choice or lose everything. They left, and Ji-hoon immediately grabbed his phone. I need to call my lawyers. Will it work? Zara asked, already knowing the answer. I don't know. He's been planning this for 2 years, poisoning the board against me, collecting evidence. Ji-hoon sat on the bed, his head in his hands. I can't lose the company. It's everything my grandmother built, everything she trusted me to protect. Then do what he says. What? Marry Sun-hee. Save the company. Let me go. Zara was surprised by how calm her voice was, even as her heart was breaking. We both knew this was temporary. 30 days, remember? We just got ahead of ourselves. Don't. Ji-hoon grabbed her hands. Don't do that. Don't pretend this doesn't matter. It matters, but your family's legacy matters more. Your grandmother's dream matters more. Zara pulled her hands away. I'll pack. You go save your company. Zara, I mean it, Ji-hoon. This was always going to end. Better it ends now before we both get hurt worse. But Ji-hoon's expression told her they were already past that point. The board meeting was brutal. Ji-hoon showed up in a perfect suit with a perfect speech about commitment and duty and making the right choices for the company. He announced his wedding to Sun-hee would proceed as planned. He apologized for his behavior and thanked the board for their patience with his recovery. And through it all, he felt absolutely nothing. The memories were still there. The feelings he'd rediscovered were still accessible. But without Zara, they felt distant, academic, like reading about emotions in a book rather than experiencing them. Sun-hee approached him after the meeting, elegant and cold in a cream designer suit. I'm glad you came to your senses, she said. We'll be good partners. Partners, Ji-hoon repeated. Not lovers, not friends, partners. That's all marriage needs to be. Anything else is a liability. She touched his arm and he felt nothing. The wedding is in 35 days. Try to look happy about it. Ji-hoon went back to the penthouse that evening to find it empty. Zara had packed everything, cleaned the kitchen, and left only one thing behind. Cake number 24 on the counter with a note. You deserve to remember this year fully. The year you got engaged to Sun-hee. I made it with all the feelings you should have had. Joy, hope, commitment, love. Maybe eating it will help you feel those things for her. If not, at least you'll have a good cake. Z. Ji-hoon stared at the cake, red velvet with cream cheese frosting, elegant and perfect and completely devastating. He cut a slice, took a bite, and the truth hit him like a freight train. The cake tasted like duty, like resignation, like a beautiful prison. There was no joy, no hope, no real love, just obligation wrapped in buttercream. Because Zara hadn't made this cake about what should have been. She'd made it about what was, and what was empty. Ji-hoon pulled out his phone and called his lawyer. I need you to do something insane. 3 days before the wedding, Sun-hee showed up at Ji-hoon's office with a tablet and a furious expression. Explain this. She showed him news articles, photos, evidence of every illegal thing his uncle had done for the past 10 years. Embezzlement, bribery, corporate espionage, and most damning, evidence that Dong-woo had ordered the accident 2 years ago, that he'd tried to kill Ji-hoon to take over the company. Where did this come from? Sun-hee demanded. Me, Ji-hoon said calmly. I hired the best forensic accountants in Seoul. Turns out my uncle has been stealing from the company for years. The car accident that killed my fiancée? He arranged it. Thought if I died, he'd inherit everything. This will destroy your family. It'll destroy him. The family will survive. Ji-hoon stood. And you're free, Sun-hee. No wedding, no merger. You don't have to chain yourself to a man who'll never love you. She studied him for a long moment. You love someone else? The baker. Yes? Does she love you? I don't know. I broke her heart pretty thoroughly. Sun-hee almost smiled. Then you'd better fix it. Men in love are useless for business anyway. The scandal broke like a tsunami. Dong-woo was arrested. The board scrambled to distance themselves. Tai-min, who'd known nothing, publicly apologized and pledged support to Ji-hoon. And Ji-hoon, finally free, went looking for the woman who'd woken him up. He found her at her bakery at 3 a.m., baking furiously. The lights were on, music was blasting, and through the window he could see her covered in flour and crying while she kneaded dough. Ji-hoon tried the door. Locked. He knocked. She ignored him. He knocked harder. Finally Zara looked up, saw him, and her expression cycled through surprise, anger, and heartbreak in rapid succession. She came to the door but didn't open it. "What do you want?" Her voice was muffled through the glass. To grovel, to explain, to beg forgiveness. Ji-hoon pressed his hand against the door. "To tell you I chose you. I chose you over the company, over my family, over everything. And then I actually got to choose you because my uncle is in jail and the wedding is canceled, and I'm completely, desperately, hopelessly in love with you." Zara stared at him through the glass, her face streaked with tears and flour. "You can't just show up here at 3 a.m. and say that." "Why not?" "Because I've spent 10 days trying to get over you. 10 days baking every feeling I have into cakes that I give away to strangers because I can't stand to taste them myself. 10 days waking up, reaching for you and finding nothing." Her voice broke. "You broke my heart, Ji-hoon." "I know, and I'll spend the rest of my life making up for it if you let me." He pulled out a key, slid it under the door. "Key to the penthouse. Move back in, not as my employee, as my partner. Bake in my kitchen, sleep in my bed, teach me how to feel everything I've been missing." That's insane. So is falling in love with someone in 17 days. So is remembering how to feel through cake. So is everything about us. Ji-hoon's hand was still pressed against the glass. "Please, Zara, I'm standing outside your bakery at 3 a.m. begging. I'll get on my knees if that helps. I'll bake you a cake myself and it'll be terrible, but I'll try. Just please open the door." Zara looked at him for a long moment. Then she unlocked the door and stepped back. "If you're lying, if this is some kind of game, it's not." Ji-hoon crossed the threshold, and the moment he was close enough, he pulled her into his arms. "I love you. I love how you hum when you bake. I love how you give away cakes to sad people. I love how you argue with me about buttercream ratios. I love that you saw me at my most broken and decided I was worth fixing." "I didn't fix you," Zara said against his chest. "You fixed yourself. You gave me a reason to." He pulled back enough to look at her. "I have 13 more cakes to taste. Years 18 through 30. Will you make them for me? Not because I'm paying you, but because you want to see how my story ends. How does it end? With you, if you'll have me. With us building something better than either of us could build alone. With the best bakery in Seoul owned by the most talented baker I've ever met. Funded by a man who's deeply in love with her." He kissed her softly. "With a terrible birthday cake that I make myself for year 31, representing the year I met you." Zara laughed through her tears. "That sounds perfect. Terrible cake and all. So you'll come back? On one condition. Anything. The no-touching rule is permanently canceled, because I plan to touch you constantly for the foreseeable future." Ji-hoon's smile was brilliant, transforming his entire face. Best condition ever proposed. He kissed her again, deeper this time, and Zara felt the last pieces of her broken heart slot back into place. They stayed like that, wrapped around each other in her bakery at 3 a.m., surrounded by the smell of bread and sugar and new beginnings. 3 months later, Zara stood in front of a massive cake, 31 layers representing every year of Ji-hoon's life. The bottom 30 were hers, each one perfectly crafted to represent a memory, a feeling, a moment. The top layer was his, lopsided and imperfect and covered in too much frosting. "It's terrible," Ji-hoon admitted, standing next to her in front of 200 guests. His family, her friends, business partners, and random customers from her bakery who'd become like family. "It's perfect," Zara corrected, squeezing his hand, "because you made it." "I made it with love," Ji-hoon said, loud enough for everyone to hear. which apparently is the secret ingredient in everything worth having. That and an obscene amount of butter. The crowd laughed, and Ji-hoon pulled Zara close, breaking every rule about personal space and professional distance and keeping feelings locked away. Because he'd learned something in the past 3 months. Life was better when you felt everything. The joy, the pain, the messy, complicated love that made you want to bake cakes at 3 a.m. and kiss someone covered in flour and build something beautiful together. "Happy birthday," Zara whispered against his lips. "Happy every day with you," Ji-hoon whispered back. And when they cut into that terrible, perfect 31-layer cake, every single person in the room cried, because Zara had baked one final secret ingredient into every layer: hope. If you made it to the end, if your heart is full and you believe in second chances and love that wakes you up, smash that subscribe button. Drop a comment telling me what your favorite moment was, which cake you'd want to try, whether you believed in them from the start. Like this video if you believe in dangerous love and chocolate therapy and baking your way into someone's heart. Because Ji-hoon and Zara's story might be over, but their happily ever after is just beginning. And maybe, just maybe, there's someone out there worth breaking all your rules for. Someone who'll teach you how to feel again, one cake at a time. Thank you for staying until the end, beautiful people. I love you all. Now go find your own person worth breaking rules for. Until next time, keep believing in love, keep baking with your whole heart, and keep choosing the people who make you feel alive.